The enemy of souls has sought to bring in the supposition that a great reformation was to take place among Seventh-day Adventists, and that this reformation would consist in giving up the doctrines which stand as the pillars of our faith and engaging in a process of reorganization. What would this reorganization consist of? The answer is right there. It would consist in giving up the doctrines which stand as the pillars of our faith. But which doctrines was it specifically that would be given up? We read the answer in the following sentences. Were this reformation to take place, what would result? The principles of truth that God in His wisdom has given to the remnant church would be discarded. Our religion would be changed. The fundamental principles that have sustained the work for the last 50 years would be accounted as error. Here she points out the fundamental principles that have sustained the work for the last 50 years. These 28 fundamental principles were published in 1872 and 1889, not the least of which was their non-Trinitarian understanding of God as described in Principles 1 and 2. Sister White spoke of these fundamental principles, saying, "We are to hold fast the first principles of our denominated faith and go forward from strength to increased faith. Ever we are to keep the faith that has been substantiated by the Holy Spirit of God from the earlier events of our experience until the present time. We may be strengthened and confirmed in the past experience that holds us to the essential points of truth which have made us what we are, Seventh-day Adventists." These fundamental principles of our denominated faith, she says, have made us what we are, Seventh-day Adventists. So when she writes of this new organization, that it would consist in giving up the doctrines which stand as the pillars of our faith, it is no wonder she could say our religion would be changed.
Question, did our church make a mistake leaving the position of Ellen White and the pioneers regarding God of adopting the Catholic position of the Trinity? Absolutely not.
Anti-Trinitarians, because of the church's position today, its strong position, we're never going to change. We've been through a century and a half of evolution, and we've come to this very strong position, this biblical position that I've articulated to you today in our fundamental beliefs. We're never going to change. We're never going back. We're never going back to where the pioneers were at the beginning of the movement regarding their teaching on the Trinity.
Someone in the congregation has said, you said this and this, and that, acting as if I was in support of an anti-Trinitarian, as we call it, viewpoint. And I wrote back and explained the full truth. But absolutely not.
And I believe the Lord led our church into a more biblical view of the Godhead. But the anti-Trinitarians, they believe that we simply left the pioneers, and now we've joined the Catholics because we believe in the Trinity. And Jesus said he will speak only what he hears, and he will glorify me. So the Holy Spirit is not Jesus, even though he's called the Spirit of Christ. He's not Jesus.
These fundamental principles from 1889 have been discarded and given up by the present-day corporate Seventh-day Adventist Church and accounted as error by all its leading evangelists and theologians. So the warning that the fundamental principles that have sustained the work for the last 50 years would be accounted as error has already been fulfilled. But guess what? There are thousands of Seventh-day Adventists all over the world who are standing on the foundation principles of the faith. They are the true Seventh-day Adventists. But the present-day corporate Seventh-day Adventist Church is the new organization that has discarded the fundamental principles and accounted them as error. They have built a new foundation with new doctrines, The one true God and his literally only begotten Son have been given up and removed, and a new three-in-one idol put in his place. This is why, she writes, their foundation would be built on the sand, and consequently, storm and tempest would sweep away the structure. The last part of this prophecy is the only portion that remains to be fulfilled.